The Cosmic Federation's Grand Conclave was a marvel of architectural impossibility. A spherical chamber suspended in the quantum-locked space between star systems, its walls a living mosaic of crystalline intelligence and advanced holographic interfaces. Gravity seemed optional, with representatives from 312 sentient species floating or standing or undulating in their designated zones, each delegation a testament to the universe's bizarre diversity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, a solitary human figure wearing the simple graphene-weave diplomatic uniform of Earth's Interstellar Research Division. Behind her, a holographic display flickered with complex mathematical equations that seemed to dance and reshape themselves, defying traditional geometric logic. The chamber's ambient translation systems hummed, converting her words into a cacophony of linguistic representations that rippled through the assembled alien intelligences. Our quantum entanglement weapon represents a fundamental reimagining of matter-energy interaction, Elena continued, her voice steady despite the waves of derision washing over her. A vextary diplomat, a being composed of interlocking crystalline segments that shifted and reconfigured with each movement, erupted into a series of sharp, cutting sounds that the translation matrix interpreted as laughter. Its multiple sensory clusters focused on Elena with a mixture of amusement and contempt. Humans, it proclaimed, its voice a grinding cacophony of silicon and electromagnetic pulses, continue to amuse the Federation with your infantile scientific delusions. Your species has barely mastered stable fusion reactors, yet you propose a weapon that could theoretically neutralize entire fleet formations. Around the chamber, other delegates joined in. The methane-breathing Krell representatives bubbled with deep, resonant chuckles that shook their gelatinous bodies. Crystalline Zentari flickered with patterns of light that translated to pure mockery. Silicon-based Arcturians projected holographic representations of human technological achievements, each one smaller and more pathetic than the last. Elena knew the performance was deliberate. This wasn't just ridicule. It was a calculated attempt to humiliate Earth, to reinforce the Cosmic Federation's hierarchical view of technological development. Humanity was seen as a newly discovered species, barely worthy of consideration. Their invitation to the Grand Conclave was more a formality than a genuine diplomatic engagement. Her presentation continued, each slide revealing layers of quantum mechanics that pushed against the boundaries of known scientific understanding. The equations were more than mathematical representations. They were a language of potential, of possibilities that existed between known physical laws. The weapon is not merely a method of destruction, Elena explained, her fingers tracing holographic representations of quantum entanglement fields. It's a fundamental reimagining of matter's structural integrity. We're not talking about explosive force or energy discharge. We're discussing the ability to destabilize atomic bonds at a quantum level. The Arcturian representative, a being of pure crystalline intelligence, projected a dismissive hologram. Your species still relies on chemical propulsion for interplanetary travel, it stated. You propose to understand quantum mechanics when you cannot even achieve stable warp dynamics. Elena's response was a smile that sent an inexplicable chill through the chamber. It was the smile of someone who knew something the others did not. A smile that suggested the presentation was merely the tip of a much larger, more terrifying iceberg. Her hand, almost imperceptibly, crushed the data chip containing humanity's most closely guarded scientific secret. The gesture was subtle, but it carried a weight of meaning that transcended the immediate moment. Mockery, she said softly, each word precisely calibrated, is the last refuge of civilizations incapable of innovation. The translation matrix struggled with the nuance, the layers of meaning embedded in her statement. Some delegates caught the implication immediately, a hint of a threat, a promise of something beyond their comprehension. Others continued their performance of dismissal, unable or unwilling to see the potential threat before them. What the Cosmic Federation did not understand was the nature of human scientific pursuit. Where other species saw technological development as a linear progression, humans viewed it as a creative act of reimagination. Every mockery, Every dismissal was fuel for their most brilliant minds. Elena Rodriguez was more than a diplomat. She was a harbinger, a warning of a scientific revolution that would shatter everything the Cosmic Federation believed they understood about technological potential. The presentation ended. The laughter continued. But something had fundamentally changed in that moment, a quantum shift that none of the assembled delegates would recognize until it was far too late. The Atacama Desert Research Facility was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a subterranean complex that plunged 7 kilometers beneath the arid Chilean landscape. From the surface, nothing betrayed its existence, just endless rust-colored sand, occasional solar collection arrays, and the distant shimmer of heat. Major Jack Harper moved through the facility's quantum resonance chamber with the precision of a predator. His prosthetic arm, a marvel of biomechanical engineering that was itself years ahead of what the Cosmic Federation believed humans capable of, interfaced directly with the experimental equipment. Each movement sent cascading data streams across holographic displays that lined the walls like electric nervous systems. Simulation 17 Delta is unstable, Dr. Yuki Nakamura muttered, her fingers a blur across multiple quantum interface panels. Strands of silver-streaked black hair escaped her tight ponytail, a testament to hours of uninterrupted work. Behind her, massive quantum entanglement generators hummed with a sound that was more felt than heard, a deep resonance that seemed to vibrate at the fundamental frequency of reality itself. Jack approached, his cybernetic eye scanning the holographic data streams. "Talk to me, Yuki. Where are we breaking down?" She didn't look up, her focus absolute. The quantum cascade is losing coherence at the 63.9 nanosecond mark. It's like the entanglement field is trying to resolve itself too quickly, causing a catastrophic information collapse. The facility was more than a research center. It was humanity's insurance policy, a last-ditch effort to develop a technological breakthrough that could protect Earth from the looming threat of the Cosmic Federation. Every major technological leap in human history had been born from similar moments of existential pressure. The Manhattan Project, the Apollo program, the first quantum computing breakthroughs. Dr. Maria Ramirez entered, carrying a thermal coffee container that seemed comically mundane compared to the advanced technology surrounding her. "Satellite data confirms increased Federation scout activity," she announced. "We've got maybe 3 weeks before they make their move." Jack's cybernetic eye flickered, running multiple threat assessment protocols simultaneously. The prosthetic was more than a replacement limb. It was a testament to human adaptability. Lost during a previous encounter with Federation peacekeeping forces, the arm represented humanity's ability to turn weakness into strength. "We don't just need a weapon," Jack said, his voice low. "We need a paradigm shift." Yuki's fingers suddenly froze over the interface. "Wait," she whispered. A new holographic model began to take shape, a quantum entanglement field that behaved differently. Instead of collapsing, it seemed to adapt. "It's alive," Maria breathed. The quantum simulation wasn't just a weapon. It was a living system of mathematical possibility. Where traditional weapons relied on destructive force, this was something else entirely. A method of fundamental structural deconstruction that rewrote the very rules of atomic stability. Jack watched the simulation with a warrior's eye and a scientist's curiosity. His history was etched into his body. Cybernetic enhancements, neural interfaces, scars from previous encounters with Federation forces. He represented a generation of humans who had learned that survival meant constant reinvention. "The Federation thinks we're primitive," Yuki explained, her voice gaining excitement. "They see technological development as a linear progression. But humans? We don't just advance. We leap." The quantum simulation continued to evolve. Each iteration was less a calculation and more a form of technological evolution. It was learning, adapting, finding structural weaknesses that didn't just exist in physical space, but in the fundamental fabric of quantum reality. Dr. Chen Wei burst into the chamber, his tablet displaying a cascade of incoming satellite and deep space monitoring data. Federation scout ships are increasing their solar system approach vectors. They're mapping potential invasion routes. Jack's prosthetic arm reconfigured slightly, an unconscious response triggered by combat assessment protocols. "They're coming," he said. It wasn't fear in his voice. It was anticipation. The quantum generator continued its mysterious dance. Mathematically impossible, scientifically incredible. A weapon that wasn't a weapon, but a fundamental reimagining of how matter could be understood and manipulated. Humanity's ultimate trick had always been turning the impossible into the inevitable. Simulation complete. The facility's AI announced. Quantum cascade stability. 99.998%. In the underground facility beneath the endless Chilean desert, humanity's greatest weapon was ready. And the Cosmic Federation had no idea what was coming. The invasion fleet of the Cosmic Federation was a mathematical marvel of destruction, each ship a living testament to technological convergence that defied human comprehension. Thousands of vessels from hundreds of species assembled in a formation that was less a military deployment and more a cosmic ecosystem of technological predation. Aboard the Federation flagship Void Terminus, Grand Strategist Krellax reviewed the invasion protocols. The being was a composite intelligence, part organic, part quantum networked consciousness, representing the pinnacle of Federation military strategy. Holographic displays cascaded around its crystalline form, each projection a potential invasion scenario for Earth. Humanity. Krellax transmitted across the fleet's quantum communication network represents a statistical anomaly that must be corrected. The communication rippled through the fleet. Each species had its own reason for joining the invasion. The methane-breathing krill saw humans as a resource to be harvested. The silicon-based Arcturians viewed Earth as a potential mining opportunity. The genetic engineers of the Vexteri saw human DNA as a fascinating biological substrate for experimentation. But beneath the strategic calculations lay something darker, a collective fear of what humanity might become. On a secondary communication channel, junior tactical officers shared memes and jokes about the insignificant humans. A Zentari lieutenant projected a holographic representation of Earth, a tiny blue dot surrounded by primitive defense satellites. "Look at them," it commented to its fellow officers. "They still use chemical rockets. They haven't even achieved stable warp dynamics." The laughter was a cascading wave of linguistic and visual mockery that translated across species barriers. They did not know about the Prometheus. Aboard the human monitoring station in lunar orbit, Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team watched the Federation fleet's assembly with a calculated calm that would have unnerved the invaders had they witnessed it. Elena's fingers danced across quantum-encrypted communication interfaces, coordinating the most complex defensive strategy in human history. "They're using a standard fractal invasion formation," commented Colonel Marcus Rodriguez, Elena's brother and head of Earth's defensive coordination. Textbook Federation approach. Overwhelming force, distributed attack vectors, minimal resource expenditure. Elena's smile was predatory. Textbook is predictable. The Federation fleet represented technological convergence at its most extreme. Ships that could reshape their molecular structure. Weapons that could disassemble planetary ecosystems. Quantum communication networks that could coordinate millions of combat units with near-instantaneous precision. What they did not understand was the nature of human preparation. Each Federation ship carried computational systems that represented centuries of technological development. Quantum processors that could perform calculations faster than biological minds could comprehend. Adaptive weapon systems that could recalibrate based on millisecond battlefield analysis. But human preparation was different. Where Federation strategy relied on computational probability, human strategy embraced creative unpredictability. "Incoming transmission," announced the lunar station's eye. Federation diplomatic channel. The holographic display resolved into the crystalline form of the Federation's primary diplomatic representative. Its communication was simultaneously a threat and a formality. The bureaucratic equivalent of a predator displaying its teeth before the hunt. Inhabitants of Earth, the transmission began. Your species is hereby instructed to submit to Federation Protectorate status. Resistance will result in total planetary reclamation. You will be given precisely 72 standard temporal units to prepare for integration. Alina's response was a single encrypted data packet. To the Federation's communication systems, it would appear as nothing more than random quantum noise. To those who knew how to read it, it was a message of defiance. "We are not asking for permission." The hidden message read. Aboard the Void Terminus, Krellax processed the transmission. The quantum analysis returned nothing. No threat assessment, no predictive models. Just silence. Something about that silence was wrong. The invasion countdown began. Thousands of ships aligned their molecular structures. Weapon systems charged. Invasion protocols activated across hundreds of species. Humanity waited. The storm was gathering. And nothing, not computational prediction, not technological superiority, not the combined might of the Cosmic Federation, could prepare them for what was coming. The Prometheus materialized at the edge of the solar system like a quantum ghost, a vessel that seemed to exist between states of reality. Its hull was a living system of adaptive metamaterials that defied traditional spacecraft design, shifting and recalibrating with each millisecond of cosmic radiation input. Major Jack Harper sat in the command chair, his cybernetic interface merging with the ship's quantum neural network. Around him, the bridge crew of 5 represented humanity's most advanced interdisciplinary team. Each member was more than a specialist. They were living weapons of scientific innovation. "Quantum signature stabilizing," announced Dr. Maria Gonzalez, her hands dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe and pulse with living data. Her tactical AI systems were running millions of potential engagement scenarios per second, each calculation a fractal explosion of strategic possibility. To the left, Dr. Chen Wei monitored the ship's quantum entanglement drive. It wasn't a propulsion system in any traditional sense. It was a method of fundamental spatial manipulation that allowed the Prometheus to exist simultaneously in multiple potential states. "Federation scout formations detected," Chen reported. "They're using a standard fractal dispersal pattern. Typical computational invasion strategy." Jack's cybernetic eye flickered, running threat assessment protocols that went far beyond traditional military computation. "They're treating this like a mathematical problem," he muttered. "We're going to show them mathematics is just another form of imagination." The Prometheus didn't look like a weapon of war. Its exterior seemed to shimmer and shift, absorbing and refracting different wavelengths of electromagnetic radiation. Federation long-range scanners would struggle to get a solid lock on its exact position, size, or configuration. Dr. Yuki Nakamura, the quantum physics specialist, monitored the weapon system's quantum cascade. What they had developed wasn't a traditional weapon. It was a method of fundamental reality manipulation. The difference was crucial. Quantum resonance field at 99.7% stability, Yuki reported. Her voice was calm, almost clinical. "We're ready." Outside, the first wave of Federation strike groups moved to surround the Prometheus. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, each vessel a testament to centuries of technological development. They were going to make an example of this single human vessel, crush it as a warning to Earth. They had no idea what was coming. "This is it." Alina's voice crackled over the quantum communication channel. She was aboard the lunar command station, coordinating the entire operation. "Everything we are, everything humanity represents, is in this moment." Jack's response was a slight smile, more a neural signal than a traditional human expression. "Initiating quantum cascade," he sub-vocalized. The Prometheus didn't power up weapons. It didn't charge shields. It simply existed. And in that existence lay humanity's most revolutionary weapon. Federation tactical networks began to register anomalies. Quantum communication channels started to experience inexplicable interference. Computational models began to break down. their predictive algorithms consuming themselves in recursive loops of impossible data. Something's wrong. A Vextari tactical officer transmitted across the fleet's communication network. Our system's error. The transmission cut off. The first ships began to simply come apart. Not explode. Not disintegrate in any traditional sense. They unraveled at the molecular level, their complex technologies becoming nothing more than subatomic dust. It wasn't destruction. It was deconstruction. Alien communication networks erupted in panic. Entire fleet formations collapsed as ships next to the affected vessels spontaneously lost molecular cohesion. The laws of physics themselves seemed to be working against the Federation. The Prometheus remained unchanged. A single point of quantum possibility that was rewriting the fundamental rules of galactic warfare. Quantum cascade at maximum efficiency, Yuki reported. Her voice carried a note of scientific wonder that transcended military triumph. Jack Harper watched the Federation fleet dissolve. This wasn't just a battle. This was a fundamental reimagining of technological potential. We're not just defending, he transmitted across Earth's communication network. We're teaching them what it means to truly understand innovation. The impossible had become inevitable. The moment of quantum deconstruction was not an explosion. It was a symphony of molecular dissolution that defied every known principle of physics and warfare. Aboard the Void Terminus, Grand Strategist Krulax experienced something unprecedented in its millennia of military service, absolute fundamental incomprehension. The Federation's most advanced sensors were recording something impossible. Matter was simply unraveling. Quantum cascade detected. A Vextari sensor operator reported, its multiple sensory clusters vibrating with terror. But this is not a traditional weapon signature. The communication cut off mid-sentence. The first ships didn't explode. They didn't burn. They didn't fragment in any way that traditional sensor arrays could interpret. Their molecular structures began to spontaneously disassociate, with each atomic bond breaking down in a cascade of probabilistic deconstruction that followed no known physical law. Dr. Yuki Nakamura watched the process with a scientist's clinical fascination and a human's profound sense of wonder. It's not destroying, she transmitted to the Prometheus's crew. It's fundamentally reorganizing matter at the quantum level. We're watching a complete restructuring of atomic potential. On the Prometheus's bridge, Major Jack Harper's cybernetic eye tracked the dissolution with mathematical precision. The quantum cascade was more than a weapon. It was a living system of mathematical possibility that rewrote the very fundamental rules of atomic stability. Quantum entanglement fields are creating a cascading information collapse, Dr. Maria Gonzalez reported. Her tactical eye was running millions of engagement scenarios per second, each calculation revealing the profound impossibility of what was happening. The weapon isn't just breaking molecular bonds. It's rewriting the probabilistic potential of matter itself. Federation communication networks began to collapse. Quantum communication channels dissolved into pure statistical noise. Entire fleet formations became nothing more than subatomic dust, their complex technologies unraveling like theoretical constructs caught in an impossible mathematical proof. The methane-breathing Krell watched in horror as their most advanced vessels simply ceased to exist. The silicon-based Arcturians saw their computational networks consume themselves in recursive loops of impossible data. The genetic engineers of the Vextari found their most advanced sensor systems unable to comprehend the fundamental restructuring happening before them. "This is impossible," a Zentari fleet commander transmitted, its crystalline communication systems fragmenting with each word. "This violates every known principle off." The transmission dissolved into quantum noise. Dr. Chen Wei monitored the quantum cascade's progression with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound respect. "We're not just destroying," he said, more to himself than to the crew. "We're demonstrating the fundamental limitations of their technological understanding." The Prometheus remained unchanged, a single point of quantum possibility that was rewriting the fundamental rules of galactic warfare. Its hull seemed to shimmer between states of existence, a living testament to humanity's capacity for scientific innovation. Kralax's composite consciousness struggled to process what was happening. The invasion fleet, thousands of ships representing centuries of technological development, was becoming nothing more than statistical potential, not destroyed, not conquered, simply reimagined. Quantum cascade efficiency at 99.9%, Yuki reported. Her voice carried a note of scientific wonder that transcended military triumph. Elena Rodriguez, monitoring from the Lunar Command Station, understood the profound significance of what was happening. This wasn't just a defensive action. This was a fundamental demonstration of human scientific potential. "We are not asking for permission," she transmitted across the quantum communication channels. The message was both a statement of fact and a profound philosophical declaration. The Federation's invasion fleet continued to dissolve. Millions of beings found themselves suddenly existing in a state of pure quantum potential, their technological systems, their computational networks, their very molecular structure becoming nothing more than a mathematical possibility. Jack Harper's final transmission captured the moment's profound significance. "We didn't just defend ourselves. We showed the universe what happens when you underestimate human curiosity." As the last Federation ships dissolved into pure quantum potential, a new understanding began to emerge. Humanity had not just won a battle. They had fundamentally challenged the entire concept of technological superiority. The quantum apocalypse was complete, and nothing would ever be the same. The Cosmic Federation's central governance complex was a marvel of quantum architecture, a multidimensional structure that existed simultaneously across 17 different spatial configurations. As news of the Earth engagement spread, the entire complex began to vibrate with a resonance of pure, unadulterated panic. Archon Krell-Nax of the Centauri cluster stood at the center of the primary decision chamber, its crystalline form flickering with cascading patterns of fear and disbelief. Holographic displays from the invasion fleet continued to dissolve, each transmission becoming less coherent, less substantial. "Impossible," the Archon transmitted across the governance network. But even as the word formed, it knew that impossible was no longer a meaningful concept. The chamber erupted into a cacophony of alien communications. The methane-breathing Krell representatives bubbled with terror. Silicon-based Arcturians saw their computational models consuming themselves in recursive loops of statistical impossibility. Genetic engineers of the Vexteri found their most advanced predictive systems reduced to quantum noise. How? The transmission came from a junior diplomatic officer, a Vexteri with multiple sensory clusters that now trembled with pure, unadulterated fear. "What science allows this?" Elena Rodriguez's response was transmitted across the quantum communication network, a message that was simultaneously a scientific explanation and a philosophical declaration. "Science is not about current limitations," her transmission read, "but about pushing beyond what others believe is possible." The message was more than communication. It was a fundamental challenge to the Cosmic Federation's entire technological paradigm. In the governance chamber, historical records began to be re-examined. Humanity had always been an anomaly, a species that seemed to make technological leaps that defied conventional understanding. The first nuclear weapons, the quantum computing breakthrough, the neural interface prosthetics, each advancement had been dismissed as a statistical outlier. Now those outliers had become a fundamental threat. Archon Krell-Nax accessed the Federation's most classified historical archives. Humanity's file was thin, considered a minor species, barely worth comprehensive observation. But between the lines, there were hints, research papers that seemed to bend the edges of known scientific understanding, technological advancements that came from seemingly nowhere. The quantum weapon was not an accident. It was the culmination of something far more profound. "We need more information," Krell-Nax transmitted to the remaining diplomatic corps. "Everything we know about humans is wrong." Across the governance complex, computational systems began to break down. The very act of trying to analyze the human weapon was causing systemic failure in Federation technology. It was as if the act of observation was fundamentally changing the nature of the data itself. Dr. Reza Volkov, the human diplomat who had been observing the Federation's response, allowed herself a slight smile. This was more than a military victory. This was a fundamental reimagining of technological potential. They're trying to understand, she transmitted to Elena Rodriguez. But understanding requires admitting how little they actually know. The Cosmic Federation's communication networks continued to fragment. Entire computational systems began to consume themselves in attempts to comprehend the quantum cascade. It was not destruction. It was a fundamental challenge to the very concept of technological superiority. Krelnax's final transmission captured the moment's profound significance. We have encountered something beyond our comprehension. In that moment, the Cosmic Federation's millennia-long belief in their technological supremacy began to crumble. Humanity had not just defeated an invasion force. They had fundamentally challenged the entire concept of scientific understanding. The unraveling was complete, and nothing would ever be the same. Elena Rodriguez's final transmission to the governance complex was simple, yet profound. We are not asking for permission to exist. We are declaring our potential. As the last fragments of Federation communication dissolved into quantum noise, a new understanding began to emerge. Humanity was not just another species to be cataloged and controlled. They were a force of scientific imagination that would reshape the entire galactic understanding of technological potential. The universe would never look the same again. The aftermath of the quantum cascade defied every known principle of military engagement, scientific observation, and galactic record-keeping. Within 17 minutes, the most powerful military force in the known galaxy had been reduced to quantum-level statistical potential. Not destroyed, not conquered, simply reimagined into pure probabilistic existence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the Lunar Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays that continued to process the incomprehensible data streams. Her team worked with a combination of scientific excitement and profound respect for the moment's historical significance. Computational analysis is still incomplete, announced Dr. Chen Wei, his fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted interfaces. But preliminary results suggest the quantum cascade didn't just neutralize the Federation fleet. It fundamentally rewrote the probabilistic potential of their technological systems. Investigations would reveal layers of complexity that would challenge scientific understanding for generations. The weapon wasn't a traditional destructive force. It was a method of fundamental reality manipulation that existed at the intersection of quantum mechanics, information theory, and something that bordered on pure mathematical imagination. Major Jack Harper's voice crackled over the communication channel. The Prometheus is conducting final system diagnostics. We've essentially created a method of technological deconstruction that makes traditional weapons look like children's toys. Across Earth, scientific institutions that had worked in parallel, often without knowing the full scope of the project, began to understand the true nature of their collaborative achievement. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a fundamental reimagining of technological potential. The surviving Federation species scrambled to understand. Research teams from dozens of civilizations began intensive investigations, their computational systems working overtime to comprehend what had happened. A Vexteri research team discovered something particularly terrifying. The quantum cascade wasn't just a method of destruction. It was a form of technological communication that existed beyond traditional computational understanding. Each molecular deconstruction was a message, a fundamental challenge to the very concept of technological superiority. Dr. Yuki Nakamura's research notes would later become a cornerstone of a new scientific paradigm. We didn't create a weapon, her final report read. We created a method of technological dialogue that speaks in the language of fundamental physics. The Lunar Command Center received a steady stream of incoming communications, not threats, not declarations of war, but requests for understanding. How became the most common transmission across galactic communication networks. Elena Rodriguez understood the profound significance of the moment. This was more than a military victory. This was a fundamental challenge to the entire concept of technological development. We are not an emerging species. She prepared a transmission to the remaining Federation governance structures. We are a fundamental reimagining of scientific potential. The quantum cascade had done more than destroy a fleet. It had created a new form of scientific communication that existed beyond traditional computational understanding. Diplomatic channels that had previously been used for military coordination now became conduits of scientific exploration. Species that had prepared to subjugate humanity now sought to understand its scientific methodology. The Arcturian research collectives were the first to publicly acknowledge the profound nature of humanity's achievement. Their transmission was a mixture of terror and profound respect. We are witnessing the emergence of a species that does not view technology as a tool, but as a living language of potential. Jack Harper's final report to Earth's Scientific Council captured the moment's philosophical depth. "We didn't just defend ourselves," he wrote. "We demonstrated that true technological advancement is not about destruction, but about fundamental reimagination." Within weeks, the Cosmic Federation's hierarchical structure began to fragment. Member species that had previously been content with technological stratification now demanded new forms of scientific collaboration. Humanity had not just survived an invasion. They had fundamentally challenged the entire concept of technological development. The paradigm was shattered, and the universe would never be the same. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's final transmission to the Lunar Command Center was simple yet profound. This is not an ending. This is a beginning. As holographic displays continued to process the quantum cascade's immeasurable data, one thing became clear. Humanity had just rewritten the fundamental rules of galactic scientific understanding. 3 months after the quantum cascade, Earth had become the most sought-after destination in the known galaxy. The United Nations Interstellar Diplomatic Complex, a massive structure built into the Chilean Atacama Desert near the original research facility, was a constant hub of alien delegations. Species that had once prepared to conquer humanity now arrived with a mixture of scientific curiosity, diplomatic necessity, and profound respect. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in the primary negotiation chamber, surrounded by holographic interfaces that represented communication streams from hundreds of galactic civilizations. Her role had transformed from a defensive coordinator to something far more complex, a bridge between humanity's scientific potential and the galaxy's reimagined future. "We're not interested in traditional diplomatic protocols," she told a delegation of Vexteri research administrators. "We're proposing a new form of collaborative scientific exploration." Major Jack Harper stood nearby, his cybernetic systems continuously monitoring the diplomatic exchanges. The Prometheus sat in lunar orbit, no longer just a weapon, but a symbol of humanity's transformative potential. Its quantum-adaptive hull had become a subject of intense scientific study, with researchers from dozens of species attempting to understand its fundamental nature. The first wave of diplomatic requests had been desperate attempts to understand the quantum cascade. Now they had evolved into something far more profound: requests for collaborative research, technological exchange, and a fundamental reimagining of scientific potential. Dr. Yuki Nakamura was coordinating the first truly collaborative scientific initiative in galactic history. Research teams from the Arcturian collectives, the Zentari quantum research divisions, and human scientific institutions were working together on projects that would have been unimaginable months earlier. "It's not about technological superiority," Yuki explained during a global broadcast. "It's about understanding the fundamental language of scientific potential." The Cosmic Federation's collapse had created a power vacuum that humanity was uniquely positioned to fill, not through military might, but through scientific imagination. Species that had previously been stratified into rigid technological hierarchies now sought a new form of collaborative development. On the Lunar Research Station, breakthrough after breakthrough emerged. The quantum cascade had been more than a weapon. It was a method of technological communication that existed beyond traditional computational understanding. Jack Harper's final report to the United Nations Scientific Council captured the moment's profound significance. We didn't just defend ourselves. We demonstrated that true technological advancement is a collaborative language of potential, not a competitive hierarchy of destruction. The first truly galactic scientific conference was held in Earth orbit. Delegations from over 200 species gathered aboard a specially constructed diplomatic platform. Where traditional galactic conferences had been exercises in posturing and strategic manipulation, this was something entirely different. Elena Rodriguez's opening address became an instant classic across multiple communication networks. Humanity's greatest strength has never been our technology. It's our capacity to imagine beyond current limitations. We are not here to conquer. We are here to explore the fundamental potential of collective scientific understanding. The Prometheus became more than a weapon. It became a symbol of a new approach to technological development. Its quantum adaptive hull was studied, discussed, reimagined. Research teams worked to understand not just its technical capabilities, but the philosophical approach that had created it. Dr. Chen Wei led a collaborative research initiative that began to explore the quantum cascade's deeper implications. It wasn't just a method of technological neutralization. It was a form of communication that existed at the intersection of physics, information theory, and pure mathematical potential. Diplomatic requests flooded the United Nations interstellar diplomatic complex. Species that had once prepared to subjugate humanity now sought collaboration, understanding, partnership. The Arcturian research collectives were the first to publicly acknowledge the profound nature of humanity's achievement. Their transmission became a foundational document of the new galactic scientific approach. We are witnessing the emergence of a species that does not view technology as a tool, but as a living language of potential. Jack Harper's final personal log entry captured the moment's philosophical depth. We didn't just change a battle. We changed the fundamental way the universe understands technological potential. As holographic displays continued to process the quantum cascade's immeasurable data,